Most of the business owners that I speak to, even when they have a level of competence inside of the business credit space, they don't really understand what net 15, net 30, net 60 actually means. And this is something that we'll spend a little bit of time on because when you're talking about any of the nets, it's really not about funding, right? The
Mhm.
net 30s is about how you are going to build credibility, right? So it is actually a phase of building credibility. You're working with vendors such as Uline, Quill, Granger, etc. And the primary thing that you're looking to do is build out a payment history that actually is going to get reported to the three business credit bureaus. And in case you don't know, Dun and Bradstreet, Experian Business, and Equifax Business are the three primary business credit reporting agencies, right? And the whole purpose of this phase is that you are going to be provided with short term trade credit. Now, the 15, the 30, the 60 that falls behind that net is the number of days that you have to make payment in full, right? So they are extending you credit, but they are expecting the full invoice to be paid in that time frame that they have provided to you. Eunice, anything that you would add on that particular point?
No, I love the explanation that you've given there. What came to my mind is, as a business owner, how do you know who to go to so that you can have this type of revolving credit? What are the requirements? Can I just start up a business today, go find a company that offers me a net 30 revolving credit, apply, and I'm in?
Remember, net 30 credit isn't revolving credit. And there is a difference between the two because revolving credit
Yeah.
actually requires a minimum payment to be made, right? Whereas
Mm-hmm.
a net 30 is requiring the full invoice to be paid in 30 days, right? So the full invoice has to be paid. Whereas when it comes to revolving credit, it functions more like a credit card, right? Or a line of credit. Revolving has a minimum payment that is required, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have your maximum limit, and you only have to pay the minimum, but once you have paid off that charge, it goes back up. So if your credit line is $20,000, you use 15. Once you pay back that 15,000 or 5,000 is what I was actually thinking because you don't want to overutilize the credit, but then you would then have access back to that full 20 once that amount is paid. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I typically consider to be tier 2 when you get into the stage of revolving business credit, right? Because this can be built using only your EIN number, and it is unsecured, right?
Okay.
So there's the net 30 or the net X, 15, 30, etc. And then there is revolving business credit. I think many businesses can survive at these two levels, right? But at the end of the day, I believe that the reason why a business is looking to establish itself is so that it can have access to large cash credit. That's when you're having money's being deposited into your account. And that's where you can use it for things like payroll. You can use it for equipment purchases and things like that.
Mm. So would you then say, as you are building your credit, this is like the initial stages of you establishing yourself as a credit or as a business that has its own separate credit profile?
Exactly. Now, if you are in certain services industries, you can go with like a Granger or a Uline and make purchases
Yeah.
of office equipment, envelopes, just different things that you need to make, right? But the real difference here is that this is what you're going to be doing in months 0 through 6. And I would say that this is going to be stage one or your foundation stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
At this stage, the foundational stage, net 30 accounts are going to be your best, right? They actually help you to build out your paydeck score as well as your IntelliScore, and it's going to be tied to your business profile. At this early stage is when you are establishing relationships with your vendors, and this is where you're going to be creating your financial footprint. So one of the things that I typically use is you can go on to Experian, and if you're having a conversation with a business owner, you can check there just to see if they even have a credit profile reporting. I would say
Mm.
probably in 50% of the instances where I have had to run this, there wasn't even a business profile created. And that's where we have to then start at point number one, where you establish all of that, right? But I believe in many people are often trying to skip this stage, right? And when you skip the foundation stage, it makes it more difficult when you're going up to stage two, where in stage two, you're actually building leverage. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So, with what you just said, I believe then it makes sense to say when you start up your business, and a lot of times I think I remember when we started, the first thing we were looking for was to open a business credit card,
Mm,
right? I think a lot of us just think that as you start a business, the first thing you want to open up is a business credit card. I know there is more information with regards to the business credit card, whether it's really under you or the EIN. But the jinx of it is just that when you start a business, or when most start a business, they think about just getting that credit card or a couple of credit cards to help them with that journey to building credit. However, what I'm getting from you also is that the best way is for you as a business to start at this level where you're establishing these net 30, net 15, get that, make that payment, and start having that history that's going to help build the business credit.
exactly. Without having set up the foundational level, the applications for revolving are going to be harder. If
Mm-hmm.
not harder, it might actually results in denials, right? Because they're not going to extend you credit if they don't have a credit profile. Or in this particular instance, they're going to say, well, the business does not have a credit profile, and we're going to ask you for a personal guarantee. Now, personal guarantees aren't the end of the world. They're not like the earth is going to stop spinning if you
Mm-hmm.
provide a personal guarantee. But the methodology that we are trying to educate our audience on is to use your EIN and not have a personal impact on your FICO score, right?
Yeah.
So start at foundation. It typically takes between 0, 3, sometimes up to 6 months to be fully established at tier one, right? But then once you have fully established yourself at tier one, that's when you can move over to tier two. And as you mentioned, this is what we did is we started applying for revolving credit, right? And at that level, that's when we were asking for, you know, store cards, right? Home Depots, your Lowe's, or you could actually even look for fleet cards, especially if you are in the transportation business and you're going to, have fuel that you need to purchase, etc. But
Yeah.
now, because you have built out that foundational level, you're going to see that you have a stronger, more in depth credit profile at tier two. And that is also going to be coming with increased limits,
Yeah.
right? And to
Yeah.
be honest with you, this is where most people are trying to skip to, but they are missing the bridge phase, which is then having a negative impact on their business.
Yeah. And sometimes you get people who then say, "Well, I do have an EIN and I applied with it, and I didn't get the limit that I wanted, or I didn't even get approved, even though my business is good and money is coming in. I'm paying all my bills on time. It's because they missed this foundational stage where literally you have an opportunity to get, for example, a net 30, make sure that you are meeting the commitments of that as you purchase and you pay up in the required times and things of that sort. That's the critical stage that sets you up so that when you now go into the next level, you are not questioning, why are they asking me for this? Why is this denied? Or why has this not gone this way? Because they were missing information from your net 30.
Stage three, which I like to call growth and scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here you have unsecured lines of credit, you have high limits, right? And when you have structured this properly, you follow what needed to be done at stage one, you follow what needed to be done at stage two. Now you have access to unsecured lines of credit, right? And this is where you can operate your business and not actually have it on a diet, right? Your business should not be a recipient of Ozempic, Wegovy, or any of the other ones. But what does this do, and how is it exciting for your business, right? A business is just like a small child. It's always hungry. It's always eating. It always needs a diaper to be changed, right? You're going to
Mm-hmm.
be able to fund your marketing, right? Because if you don't have leads and customers coming through your door, you're not a business, you're more of a charity. You can now also hire on additional employees because now you're able to cover payroll, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can buy inventory. In buying inventory at volume, you could also now receive volume discounts, right? And you also can float receivables at the same time because now you know you have a strong credit profile established. When you do these things properly, right, you not only give yourself access to the capital that you need to fund your business, right? But now
Mm-hmm.
you also increase the valuation of your business at the same time
Mm-hmm.
because all of this is established. If someone was coming in and they wanted to purchase your business, the multiple that you can have off of your SDE, seller discretionary earnings, you can now have a higher multiple because all of this is established. When this is not established, you're probably going to be trading at a 1.5 or 2 of your SDE. It just makes sense that this is something that needs to be done.
I like that. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm getting from all this is that when you start a business and you're starting a business with the interest of making sure that this is going to be run as a business and it's not a hobby, you do everything that is necessary to ensure that you are setting up your business to be in a position where even if you were to sell it, there is potential to value it and actually put it on the market and sell it because it's been established as a business. It's not one of those, okay, whenever we can, we'll transact or service, like a hobby. It is a
Hmm.
business and you need to do the proper set up. You do the foundation, you go through phase two, you go through phase three, whatever it is that needs to be done to make sure that this financial entity here is really properly set up and properly managed.
What I like to say is that net 30 or net X builds the reputation, revolving credit builds the empire.
Ah, makes sense.